right. Haha. Welcome to Crafternoon. Hey, welcome to Crafternoon. Oh God, I should have cleaned my kitchen better if I was going to tilt my camera like this. That's okay. I am Chloe Ellis Falcon. I am an author. I'm also a former cake decorator, which doesn't actually make me good at baking, but I'm going to be baking today. I'm going to be making 3 types of cookies. Fudgy Cappuccino Crinkles and peanut butter blossoms, which are the peanut butter cookies with the, sorry, I've got cat fuzz on my nose, of course. Peanut butter blossoms are the peanut butter cookies with the Hershey Kisses in them. And then I'm also going to be making this cranberry-orange chocolate chip cookie. I have made peanut butter cookies many times. I don't know if I've done the Hershey Kiss thing before. I don't think it really matters. If anything, it'll be less frustrating than regular peanut butter cookies because, you know, I always want them to have that nice imprint of the fork on them. And I always end up making really fluffy peanut butter cookies that those imprints don't come out. So I'm not going to be imprinting them. I'm just going to be jamming a kiss in them at the end. The Cranberry-Orange chocolate chip cookies are a recipe that I found online years ago that I will be doing modifications to because I'm somebody who modifies constantly. And the Fudgy Cappuccino cookies are a recipe that is coming out of my, let's get this camera angle back where I want it. Sorry about the gross power strip right there. It's going to be coming from the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. I've been experimenting with baking blogs lately, and everything is always bad. So I said, you know what, let's go back to my roots. I grew up with this cookbook. Obviously, it was my mother's that was from like the 80s. I loved it so much that when I was apparently 24 years old, I said, you know what I want for Christmas is this cookbook. So I love this cookbook, and I stopped using it for a while, and that was dumb, and I'm going back to my roots. I'm doing this Fudgy Cappuccino Crinkles recipe and the peanut butter blossom recipe, and then that other one that I've made a million times from online. I am going to be starting with the Fudgy Cappuccino cookies because they do have a 3-hour chill time. You probably can't read any of this, but I'm going to point to it anyways. I'm going to be doing this first because it's got the chill time, and I'll make the other batters while this is chilling. I've already gotten all of my ingredients out. Hey, Pronoun, you joined me. Yeah, I wish I had cookies right now as well, so I'm going to bake them, and hopefully they're going to come out. And this recipe says it's going to make about 40 cookies, which is great because I've got a cookie swap to do. And I wanted to do something a little bit different, so we're going to do this one. Hopefully, it ends up tasting good. So this recipe, I'm just going to skim it really quickly. Like I said, I've already gotten all of the ingredients out, except for the cappuccino. We'll talk about that in a second. It is telling me to start out by lightly greasing a cookie sheet. But it appears, first of all, I never grease cookie sheets. I always use parchment paper, and that is a rule for all of you. Always use parchment paper. Whenever it tells you to grease anything, use parchment paper. If parchment paper is not an option, then you should absolutely use baking spray. Baking spray is so much better than any sort of cooking spray. This does not have flour in it. This does. This greases and flours at the same time. It makes everything not stick. So it looks like it wants me to grease that cookie sheet for when I bake these cookies in 3 hours. We are not worried about 3 hours down the road. What we are going to do is start out by beating butter with an electric mixer. KitchenAid. It's the gold standard. It's worth it. I've had a bunch of cheaper ones, and they've all busted on me or like failed in various ways. I normally don't tell people to go for like the most expensive product in the world, but I've never had a KitchenAid die on me. So this thing is probably about, oh, I don't know, 15 years old. Also, I get endorsements from absolutely no one. So don't think I'm telling you to buy a KitchenAid. Because KitchenAid isn't in any way financing this. Okay. So I've got my KitchenAid, I've got the bowl. KitchenAids do come with various attachments. There is a dough hook, which we're not getting out. There is a whisk, and there is a paddle. This is telling me to beat butter. So I'm not going to use the whisk. I am going to use the paddle. It does make a difference. I am actually the lazy person who will just use the whisk for everything, but you shouldn't. And then it is calling for 1/3 of a cup of butter. And thankfully, sticks of butter come with little guides on them. I know some of y'all are in other countries where this is not a thing that happens, but here in America, we have these sticks that just tell you exactly where to cut. So as long as you have a fresh stick, you're good. A regular stick of butter is 1/2 a cup. Apparently, that is 1/3 of a cup. So it says to mix this for 30 seconds. I will be washing my hands 8 bajillion times. When I was a cake decorator, I almost never wore gloves, which was technically a violation. But the thing is that I wash my hands so often that it doesn't, it was cleaner for me to use my hands. Alexa, set timer for 30 seconds. Ooh. Oh, haha. Helps if you lock it. Alexa, stop. I do use my Alexa for all of my timers, and I love it for that. Oh, yeah, the pronoun says, oh, so you don't, okay, so you don't have sticks like we do, but your blocks do have lines on them, so that's good. I know, that seemed to get really jammed up in there. Our house is cold. We use space heaters just because it's only 2 of us, and we only have a couple rooms we use that much. So I'm going to let this run for just a little bit longer. See if I can. See if I can keep it from getting jammed up in there. And it just loves that spot right there. You know, it's funny. I'm really smart about this when I do some other things because temperature really does make such a big difference. So I'll actually usually put stuff in my room where it's a bit warmer. That worked. Okay. So it's still a little, oh gosh, I say it worked. Also, I will always tell you it's important to follow times on recipes, but here I go. Okay, so I'm going to call it there. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't put the butter in my room this time for this exact reason. I guess I just, you know what? Usually with cookies, you cream it with sugar right off the bat, so it doesn't get as jammed up as this. But right off the bat, I am screwing up this recipe, which is pretty normal for me. Okay, so that was the 3rd cup butter. And now it wants me to add the brown sugar, the cocoa powder, the coffee granules, which we'll get to in a second, the baking soda, and the cinnamon. Okay, so I'm going to do this in a slightly different order. I'm going to put all of those things in except for the coffee granules. And we'll get to that one in a moment. So let's go ahead and start with the brown sugar. It wants a cup of packed brown sugar. So at my house, we've got this rack that all of the baking supplies lives on. It is not a well-organized rack. It is not nearly big enough for this, but that is the entire story of our kitchen. We also make a lot, once we get this time of year, we make a lot of acorn squash. Once it comes in season in the fall, we tend to make acorn squash about once a week. And we always do the roasting with some butter and some brown sugar in its little seed hole once we take the seeds out. So these two things come together into this issue where we constantly think we're out of brown sugar when we actually have half a bag, and we pick up a bag of brown sugar, and then we come home and we discover that we have 3 other bags of brown sugar. So I got wise to this the other day, and I gutted that entire rack. And I combined all of the bags of brown sugar. Not actually combine them, but I put them into these Ziploc bags so that I would use them. You might have noticed that that was dark brown sugar that went on top of that. This recipe doesn't specify, and honestly, I don't care. I've never been in a situation where the molasses content of my brown sugar really made a difference. But anyways, thanks to my organization, we are now down to 1 full bag and 1 partial bag of brown sugar, which is exactly where I want my brown sugar content to be. Baby steps. Okay, so that is my packed cup of brown sugar. Also, you might have noticed my super fancy technique for packing, which was literally using the bag to pack the brown sugar. Always pack brown sugar if it calls for it. I've never seen a recipe where it didn't call for it, but I guess I should put that caveat on there. If the recipe calls for packed brown sugar, pack it. Also, I'm having a slight technical difficulty right now because the next item in the list was cocoa powder. There it is. Never mind. I was going to say, I thought I got it out, and I'm not seeing it, and it turns out I did not get it out. Okay. I rarely use cocoa powder, so this cocoa powder doesn't look great. That's okay. It is calling for 2/3 of a cup. This is something where I really prefer not to use cocoa powder, but you know, it's hard when you're baking. So I'm going to call that 1/3 of a cup. Again, my exemplary measuring skills. I'm going to call it that. And am I comfortable? Yeah, we'll call that another 1/3 of a cup. My spatial reasoning is great, and I rely on that more than I probably should have. So it looked like I had about the same amount sticking out as that I was missing in there. Is that the right way to measure? Absolutely not. But that's why I'm doing this little show and not any actual real craziness with it. Okay. So it wanted the brown sugar and the cocoa powder coffee granules, which we're not doing. We'll get to that. And then the baking soda. I keep baking soda in this container because I hate the boxes that it comes in. Again, I don't know where you're from, if it's boxes for you or if it's in something else. This is how we normally get our baking soda. I hate this thing. So if this looks like a cornstarch container, it's because it absolutely is. And for baking soda, I need 1 teaspoon. Just taking everything off the rings today. One teaspoon. Oops. If I was smarter, I would actually use a baking powder container for this because it's got that nice lip to scoop off of. But I would absolutely be using the wrong thing every single time and screwing up every single thing I made if I did that. And then the last thing I need is 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon in this. Should I clean this? Absolutely. Am I? Nope. Because this is my house. And I don't think there's any allergens in baking soda. So if a little bit of baking soda gets into my cinnamon, I'm okay with that. Okay, so we are going to beat until combined scraping bowl. I'm going to put that on a real low speed at first because of the obvious disaster that especially cinnamon will cause, because it is such a fine powder that if I go too fast in the beginning, it's going to explode on me. You see it? I don't know if you can see it wafting or not. I don't know what kind of film quality you're getting. Okay, tell you what, this is looking real weird. I am missing one ingredient from it, the coffee granules, but I feel like if anything that would make it worse, and I do believe this is all because of the butter. So again, I say, when it calls for softened butter, actually make sure that it's soft, and if you keep your house, it's 65 degrees. That's not going to soften it. But also, you absolutely cannot melt it. If it says for softened butter, never melt it. It'll be far worse results than even this little kerfluffle that I'm having right now. Oh, there it goes. It's poofing. So we're just going to run this a little bit longer than we want to. Remember that whole thing I said before about using the paddle instead of the whisk? I regret that decision now, and I wish I had used the whisk. Ooh! Aha, that shook my bowl right out of the bearing. There we go. Okay. So this has ended up being real effing weird. I guess I'm just going to accept the fact that it's a good thing that I don't have flour in yet. And I'm going to move on to the next step. The next step is liquids, which is great. Okay. So the whole thing with the coffee grounds. I hate instant coffee grounds. The one downfall of this cookbook is, again, because the recipes are older, they use ingredients that we don't really like anymore. One of them is instant coffee grounds. So what I've made here is I have, oh, look at how gross my hands are. I promise I don't have a disease. It's just cocoa powder. So what I've made here is some espresso for my Keurig that I then reduced some on the stovetop, and then I put it in the freezer actually to chill it. Not so that it's frozen. I just didn't have a whole lot of time. And this is what I'm going to use. However, that means I got to make a whole bunch of adjustments with my liquids going into this because I can't have too much liquids in it. It was calling for 1 tablespoon of instant coffee grounds. I cannot even fathom how to convert that into this. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to hope that the flavor comes out okay. This is what baking is for me. But one way I'm going to convert it is it's calling for 2 egg whites. And instead I'm going to use, this is meringue powder. It says color flow on it. It's just a meringue powder that has sodium lauryl sulfate in it that makes it look glossy when you use it for royal icing. But it's just regular meringue powder with this one little thing added to it. So it's fine to use. And the conversion for this is, oh my God, there's no conversion for this because it is used for this other thing. So I am going to grab my phone and find out what the conversion is for meringue powder to be substituted as egg whites. I believe it's like a 1-to-1, and it's like 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon, but let me, okay. That was the opposite of what I wanted. Sorry. Oh, hey, I got, it's funny. I get these bots on, I get these bots on Twitch, and they always are advertising the same thing. 1 egg white equals about 2 tablespoons of dried eggs. Oh, good grief. Why are all of these terrible? Why are all these written in a terrible way? This is a whole flipping blog post on how to do this conversion. And like, instead of having a nice, easy chart in there, it's all written like that. And it is, I cannot stress, a huge flipping blog post where I just need a simple conversion. 1 egg white equals to about 2 tablespoons dried eggs. Similarly, 1 tablespoon meringue powder mixed with an equal amount of water is equivalent to 1 egg white. Okay, that was exactly what I needed to know. It was what I already knew, and I had to go on some dang wild goose chase to find out. Okay, so I need 2 egg whites for this. 2 egg whites would therefore be 2 tablespoons of this meringue powder and 2 tablespoons of that coffee. Obviously, this coffee is not going to be used for anything else. So I'm dipping that dirty spoon in there. This is something that I probably wouldn't do because it's leaving a weird film on it. But in this case, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use a fork to mix this up. I don't know why, it just seems right. I guess because it's a powder. We'll see what kind of, hopefully this is going to end up being, it's kind of ending up being just like that, a real gross texture, but we'll keep going with it. I'm now regretting my choice of fork. Oh, that is weird. This is turning into weirdness. That's okay. I'm also having a focus issue again, aren't I? Oh, Pronoun, I just saw your comment. You've seen bots on YouTube constantly advertise Wattpad. Oh! Did you hear my voice break during there? I'm 40 years old. I'm not going through puberty. Anyways, so here's a funny thing, is I have always wondered what the deal is with those bots. Like if this is authors who are paying somebody to market and they don't realize that this is what that marketing is or what. And the one time, so I thought, maybe I should let these authors know that, like, if this is what's going on, maybe they don't realize that their money is going into these weird ass ads on YouTube that don't make any sense because you can't click on them. So they're literally the most pointless thing ever. And it's just this like really annoying bot. They don't even try to make it look like they're not a bot. So yeah, so at one point I had this really altruistic plan of like notifying these authors. And then the one time that I had a chance where I actually caught like what the name of the book was and the author, and was able to do something at that exact moment, the book was like, it wasn't To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was an author that was just as, well known. Certainly somebody who, first of all, wasn't somebody you could just reach out to like that. And wouldn't be spending money in this like dumb, weird way to advertise. Also, it might have been somebody who was dead. So my thought with this info that you have just provided, Pronoun, that it is Wattpad books, as I'm wondering if also they're not even like paying attention to what book it is. And so sometimes it's a book that like shouldn't even be on Wattpad, or probably, because like Wattpad has like some really scammy stuff going on with it. Okay, so this took way longer than I thought it was going to, and it's not exactly consistent, but this is what we're going with. I'm going to go ahead and dump that in, and we're going to pray. We're going to pray for these cookies. I say that as somebody who is absolutely not Christian. So I'm definitely using pray in I don't know what the right term is there. Not theoretical, not euphemistic, but one of those ways where I don't literally mean that I'm going to be asking a higher being to make these cookies good. I can just throw out these cookies if they don't come out good. Okay, so the next thing, this is my other really weird conversion here. It calls for a 1/3 cup low-fat yogurt. I am using Greek yogurt, which has far less moisture in it. So this is another way that I can put more of this espresso in here. I just need to know what the conversion is. Also, if you're watching this and you're somebody who runs on metric, I am so sorry for the shenanigans. That is the way that we measure things in America. I am guessing that this math would be super easy in another country. I know that, like, basically for this, whatever, so it's calling for 1/3 cup. And I need that 1/3 cup to be made 2 parts this and 1 part this. So if I had like an easy number, like I'm just going to throw a number out here, 300 milliliters, I would know that I need 200 milliliters of this and 100 milliliters of that. I'm not even close to anything that simple. So, Alexa, what is 1/3 cup in tablespoons? Okay, so I need 5 1/3 tablespoons here. A third tablespoon isn't even something that exists, so I'm going to go with 5 1/2 tablespoons. So this number is not going to be dead perfect, but if I do 2 1/2 tablespoons of this and a tablespoon of this, that'll be close enough for my comfort. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of the espresso. We'll get rid of this. I'm getting rid of it instead of drinking it. I do love espresso. However, that also was reduced, and I have a feeling it's not going to taste very good. So that is like a heavy, oh, I can't, there we go. It's a heavy tablespoon. So I'm going to call that extra third that I needed. I'm not stressed about that. And that is clean enough that I don't feel like I need to scrape that. Okay, so we are done with the yogurt. I'm going to pop this back in the fridge because it is yogurt. All right, so beat until combined, scraping bowls. That was what was supposed to happen on the last step and did not. Beat in egg whites and yogurt until combined. This is going to go slowly again because it's going to poof probably. Oh, we'll see if I can actually get a decent mixture out of this. Hopefully you guys can hear me when I'm yelling over the mixer, but like not in a really obnoxious way. While this is mixing though, I'm gonna need 1 1/2 cups of flour for this. And the directions for that are to beat until it no longer allows you to heat it. And then mix it by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all measured out. That has a bit of stuff in it. But I don't want to get it wet because it's going to be flour in here. So I'll wipe out. Oh, you know what? That is actually mixing into a really nice slime, and I am happy with the with what that is. Okay, I'm not going to do this. So basically, I just told you the responsible way of doing this, which was pre-measuring 1.5 cups of flour and then dumping it in parts. And then I decided that that's a waste of time for me. So what I'm going to do is scrape this and run it one more time. That is being responsible. And then I'm just going to dump in that first cup and we'll see what happens. We watch a lot of baking competitions here, and I love that they always have their batters together in like 10 minutes, which I'm sure I am fully capable of doing if I just have my shit together, but I never have my shit together nearly as much as I think I do. And so here we are, 35 minutes in, and I'm still like slogging through the first batter in hopes that the other batters magically go better than this one. Okay, so that first about half a cup went okay. The second half a cup is probably going to be the end of the mixer. Okay, so obviously the struggle was real for my mixer there. So for that last half cup I am going to, ooh, look how thick this batter is. Oh my God. So this is a crinkle cookie, which if you don't know what that is, it's one of those cookies where it's usually chocolate. So this is just a slight modification on it. And it's where they look like they're coated in powdered sugar before they're baked, because they are. And then the surface of it crackles a good amount. So you get these like ridges of really dark chocolate showing through that powdered sugar. So I'm wondering if the reason this is clearly going to be a very dry batter is not because I screwed up somewhere, also possible, but it could be something that helps facilitate that crackling, and hopefully not make an actual dry cookie, but just make something that ridges a bunch. Okay, so that is as much as I'm going to get off of that. I'm going to pop this off of here. Slide you over. And then I'm going to add this last half cup that it's calling for. Nope. I'm going to try to mix it with the spatula. That might fail miserably. We'll find out. If so, I've got like a good old wooden spoon back there. Yeah, this isn't happening at all. So let me go grab a wooden spoon. I almost just want to use my hands on this. But it's absolutely not saying to use my hands on this. Okay. So that is fairly cleaned off. Okay. Wow, this hates mixing. And you know what that means? I'm going to go wash my hands. I'm going to use my damn hands in this. Okay. Oh yeah. This was absolutely the right move here. So it's definitely getting in my nails, but that's okay. This is the price I have for growing out my nails now that I'm no longer working in the food industry, is that when I do make stuff like this, here we are. But that's okay, because I'll just wash my hands again. As I said in the beginning of the show, I will wash my hands over and over and over again throughout this broadcast. I would probably, if I had like more counter space happening, I would probably roll this or turn this out into like the actual flour, like the dough before I put that half cup in. I would have just put that half cup on the counter and kneaded it in like bread. But again, especially with me filming this, I just don't have the counter space that I need for it. What you see here is the entirety of my counter space. You can assume that I've got a laptop sitting there and also my open cookbook. So that is taking up usable space, and that's literally it. Everywhere else, right here, I am, let's see. Yeah, probably about 6 inches out from that flour bag is an appliance. And then behind me, there's a chunk of counter that has our drying rack and our coffee maker and our coffee supplies there. So there's literally no counter there right now. And then on the other side of our sink is our stovetop. So this is all of my counter. I wish this looked a little bit more even, but it probably doesn't matter. So let me get this last little whoop up there. Sorry for that banging sound. Also, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but the music I have playing in the background is the Chill Hop station on Sirius. Hopefully it's not playing too loudly because I don't want to get Pegbag copyright infringement. Okay, so that is my dough for this. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with this. It does say now to cover and put in the fridge for 3 hours or until easy to handle. Honestly, it's really easy to handle right now, which is a concern. But I am going to put this in the fridge for a little bit because that's what they told me to do. It doesn't say what to cover with, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that they want something more of a plastic wrap than like a cloth, which makes a difference when you're doing bread. It would make a difference here as well. It would probably dry it out. So I'm going to go ahead and use plastic wrap because I'm assuming I don't need this any drier. Okay, and I'm going to do some dishes before I jump into the next one. So I'm just going to put up a little banner here saying that I'm doing dishes. So if anybody joins in this time, they know that the show is going on. I'm just washing dishes. Helps if I actually show it. Here we go. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. All right, so the next recipe I'm going to do is the Cranberry-Orange chocolate chip. This is a recipe that I found online years ago. And of course, I never think to save it because I always modify it slightly. And I can never find that like exact page where I found it from because the first time I made this was like 2007. I only know that I'm looking at roughly the right recipe because it calls for 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is a lot of butter. I'm doing this one next because I can bake these cookies while I make the next batter. And since the next one is the peanut butter cookies that are going to be the peanut butter blossoms, I'm going to have to watch those a lot more when they bake because I got to jam the thing into it, the Hershey Kiss into it at the end. So I'd rather make this more complicated batter now and do the simpler batter afterward. So this recipe is coming from food.com. I'm going to go ahead and post it. Oh gosh, if I can find the tab. I'm not used to working on only one screen. That's the basic that I'm doing though. And I'm just going to have one slight modification to it. And that's the, well, there's not as much of an orange taste in it. But it's only from zest, and I don't like that. So I'm going to add, this is going to end up adding liquid to it, which I know I shouldn't do. I've already like had that whole spiel to you guys about like, don't make sure you get your liquids evened out. But that's the choice that I'm making here. If I was smarter, oh, no, I don't. I was about to say, maybe I have some orange marmalade. I don't know if that'll incorporate right. So I'm just going to do orange juice. And we're going to assume that this is going to be a bit more moisture than I'm used to. I'm kind of wondering if I should reduce the orange juice now. But like, I don't really have the timeline for that either. So I'm going to go ahead and set my oven. I have 2 ovens, which is great, except one of them, the temperature is all out of control on, and we do the best we can. Okay, so this is going to be one of those 2-bowl deals where they want us to mix the dry ingredients before we mix the wet ingredients and then incorporate them. I'm going to go ahead and do this properly for once in my flipping life. So I need flour, 2 cups of flour. Another really great thing about seasonal baking is it burns through all of these ingredients that kind of sit for too long. I don't know. It's not like flour ever really goes bad, but there's that point where you feel like you need to get rid of it. So why don't we go ahead and do it? Oh, crap. I just realized for that other dough that I just made, or batter, I was going to put some macadamia nuts into it. Maybe I'll do like a half and half with it. I'll try it without the macadamia, and I'll try it with the macadamia and see how the bake works out. And then it'll be like a flippin' experiment, and I am all about the science. Okay. So it was 2 cups flour. It is a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And it is a, oh God, I'm looking at the wrong place. I'm looking at my recipe book. It's on my screen right now. 1.5 teaspoons baking powder. First of all, that is a 1/2 tablespoon. Yeah, just go with it. 1.5 teaspoons is 1/2 tablespoon. So I don't know why they didn't just say 1/2 tablespoon, but that's okay. So I wanted, let's see, the flour, the baking powder, the soda, and the salt mixed together. I don't put salt in my things. I know it's bad. Everybody likes salt in their sweets. I don't. I've got like this really weird salt sensitivity. I very rarely eat really salty foods. If I'm eating a salty food, it's usually more like soy sauce type of salty than actual salt. I don't really do pretzels. Oh, or like cheese. You know, cheese kind of has a salty taste to it as well. I'll do salt in those formats. I guess it's sodium, but not actual salt. But like actually putting salt on things, I'm very light-handed with it. Not that like my food is bland. I'm absolutely not a bland food person. It's just salt in particular. I don't like to go heavy with it. Okay, so I'm just gonna set this to the side. And I'm going to move on to the next step. Oh, so I just flipped over, and yeah, I also love macadamia, and I've got this whole flipping bag of it that I just need to run them through a food processor. So I'm going to go ahead. I wish I could like do the bottom of them, but I feel like I'll screw it up and everything will be like gross and burnt. So when I take that out, I'm going to knead in macadamias into half of it and see how it goes. Supposedly this makes 40 cookies. They're tiny cookies that this makes because that was not a big thing of batter. But when this is done, I'm going to break that in half and do that because I definitely, like, that's all I want to do right now. Okay, so in a large bowl, cream together butter and sugar. This is the 3/4 of a cup. To avoid so much of that last disaster, I'm going to knead this butter some. You can actually use like a tool to do this. You can like put it on a plate and roll over it. This is how you would make like croissants. Croissants, you need to use cold butter, but it needs to be soft, which is a contradiction. So you kind of do this with the butter, but like on a cutting board or something, and with like a rolling and not with your fingers in the package. But that's okay. The important thing is that I know that I am wrong. Okay, so that is all smashed down. We'll plop it in here, and hopefully that will help it from, what the hell is that? Don't ignore what I'm doing here. I don't know where that came from. It could have been like a little bit of residue from the last cookie. Okay, so that was 1/2 cup. I need 3/4 of a cup. So I need a 1/4 cup more, and that is 4 tablespoons. What I have here is about 2.5 tablespoons, but obviously I don't want to have, I don't want to have like 2 little extra nuggets of butter after this. So I'm going to smash up that 2.5 a little bit. man, there it is. And I'm going to do about 1.5 of this. I don't know how well that picked up on the screen. If that looked like way more than 1.5, it's because it was. I don't care. You don't care. There we go. Nice smashy smash on that. Okay. And then we'll just save this butter. Maybe I'll need it for the next one. I'm curious about that now. I feel like the next one is a full 1/2 cup, so it doesn't matter. Yes. Ooh, it's also a 1/2 cup of shortening. Gross. That's okay. Maybe I won't use shortening. We'll find out. Okay, so oh God, I'm looking at the wrong thing again. I keep looking back at the Fudgy Cappuccino Crinkles, which first of all, I'm done with. So let me flip to the peanut butter page. Also, I'm supposed to be looking at my computer. Okay, so that was my 3/4 cup butter. And now wants 1 cup granulated sugar. I saw it. Here we go. Nope, that was going to be the wrong way of doing that. Oh my gosh. So I am in the state of Georgia. I've mentioned many times that I'm in Atlanta. That is in the state of Georgia. I feel like that's a fairly well-known around the world thing, that is where Atlanta is located. But where it's relevant that it's Georgia is where we're having this big Senate runoff. We had 2 Senate seats up. Oh God, why did you do that? We have 2 Senate seats up, and how these two, so the way that it works in Georgia is that one of the people has to have 50% of the vote on it, but like as many people can run as they want to run. So we sometimes get these runoffs where like on one of them, everybody got like 30%. And then on the other one, it was real close, but like both of them were at like 48%. So we're having this runoff. This runoff is a huge deal because it's going to dictate whether the, oh my God, am I forgetting the right term? It's the House of Representatives, Congress, Senate. I am saying the right thing. Where it's going to dictate whether the senators are leaning Republican or Democrat. Which is a major deal because if you know the name Mitch McConnell, he is the one that's kind of been running the show for a while now. He prevented Obama from doing a lot of things, and then he allowed Trump to do a lot of really shitty things. So, sorry, I just got my politics in it. Anyway, I try not to talk politics too much in the sense of like me saying what my politics are. Let me go ahead and get this mixing because I got sidetracked. Also, I'm going to do exactly what I said not to do last time, and I am going to go ahead and use the whisk on this and see if it also helps with this butter issue that I have. So anyways, this thing is super critical, and like millions and millions of dollars are going into it, and that means that for those of us in the state of Georgia, our phones never stop ringing. We never stop getting texts. We never stop getting mail and like people knocking on the door and everything about this. And it is exhausting. And I appreciate that the rest of the country, and I'm sure a good chunk of the world, is trying to help in every way they can. But unfortunately, the only way they can is to badger us to vote. So you can see that I'm still having this problem with this cold butter. This butter literally has never been in the fridge since I bought it over a week ago, but it is still too cold. So it's doing this like it ends up with like a popcorn look to it. I don't know how well that's picking up on the video, but it's got this popcorn look to it, which is not what we want, but it's mixing up better than it did with the paddle mixer. So this is really funny looking to me. Okay, so that is just like what it's going to be. We're going to keep on going and hope for the best. As I add more liquids into this, again, this should start to fix itself. So it wanted me to beat in the egg next, as well as the orange zest. So I will be doing orange zest in it. I'm just also going to be doing juice in it. It's calling for a large egg. It's only getting a medium egg. And you know what? That might help with that moisture balance issue that I have. And I just thought, oh, I probably should have done the meringue powder in this. Oh, no. I can't do meringue powder in this because meringue powder is egg whites. And this was full egg. So, but again, that will at least counter some of that. And I'm actually going to take this off for a moment because I have to zest an orange into here, and it's just easier without the mixer on it. So I am going to be using a microplane to zest this. This is so much better than a grater. Also, it was calling for one large orange. I've got mandarins. Hopefully, again, they're sweeter. I don't know if that translates to the zest at all, but hopefully that will also help with what I'm doing. The one thing I will say, if you're not somebody who usually uses orange zest, is you really want to make sure, I'm going to switch my video over. You really want to make sure when you're doing it that you're not running over areas that you've already done. So this is the zest, this brighter orange spot. This is the zest, this darker spot. This is pith now. It's the beginning of that white stuff that tastes really gross. So you want to be really careful that you're not getting any of this. You're only getting this. To the point where, like, probably don't be as anal as I'm being, and like, it's better to waste some zest than to try to get every bit of zest and end up getting some pith in it. The one saving grace with pith is that the really bad flavor of it does tend to fade after, I don't know, I would say like 24 hours. I feel like it also helps if you refrigerate it, but like that first batch is just going to have like that really gross bitter taste of pith in it. And like, yeah, these cookies are for a swap, and that swap isn't happening until Saturday. But like, I'm going to eat these damn cookies now. Like, not now, but once they're done, I want to eat some of these cookies. I don't want to have to let them sit so they taste less gross tomorrow. I want them to be fresh and warm out of the oven. And I want to brag to everybody who's getting them on Saturday that, oh, it's a shame that I had to bake them early because they tasted so much better fresh out of the oven, but they're still good. I joke, but not really. I am kind of a terrible person. I do my best not to be a terrible person. I do have ASPD, though, and that means that, unfortunately, my psychological default is terrible person, and I do my best to be a nice person, but like I'm also really manipulative. I don't know, it is what it is. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of zest in here. I'm really happy about how much zest is in here, but I'm still never happy about how orangey these come out. I'm missing a knife. What a damn thing to be missing. Oh, geez. And now I'm throwing clean stuff back into the, oh. I'll explain that oh in a moment. There it is. Okay. So that disappointing O was for those crinkle cookies. I'm going to need powdered sugar to be like sifted onto them. So I got this the wrong way. I'm going to save this one. I'm going to use this one. So anyways, I got my powdered sugar sifter out. It looks like it was sitting next to a stovetop for a while, and it got like that gross stove grease film on it. So I washed it, but of course with a powdered sugar sifter, it needs to be dry as dry can be. And I had it sitting in the drying rack for when I use it in a little bit, and ruined everything. It just fell right in the sink. Also, I do have like a whole block of knives sitting over there that I could have used, but as a cake decorator, we got this one knife. I'm going to fuck up my Zoom doing this. And I'm still not going to be able to see it. The brand is Victorinox, Victorinox. And this is the best paring knife. I call it a paring knife even though it's serrated, but oh my God, it doesn't matter. That's the best paring knife I have ever had in my life. And so once I was working at that job for a while, I finally got so mad at the paring knives that we have here that I just went online and I found this thing. I was like, this is mine now. I'm going to eat this other half an orange, in case you're wondering what's going on here. I just juiced that one mandarin because, again, I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so let me flip back to the recipe and make sure that I put what needed to be in here. Beat in egg and orange zest. So, yes, that is where I am. Hopefully this will mix better than last time because it's got that egg in there. It is still looking popcorny, but less popcorny. My goal here is that I end up with it not looking separated. The problem is that, oh, there we go. If you overmix it, then you end up breaking your butter. And I don't want to do that. I'm going to mix it just a little bit more. Okay. So that's as far as I'm going to go with it. It's looking pretty granulated, but I feel like that is just from the sugar. Okay. So the next step is to add that flour mixture a little bit at a time. It says a little bit. I always do a lot. I always start with like half of it. Because like I know that it's to like make sure that you're not stressing your mixer out too much and that it's not exploding. But I feel like that first time, if you dump like half of it in, like either you are absolutely fine. Or if you're not fine, there are bigger issues here, then you added too much. And actually, this will be a good way for me to figure out if I need to add more juice to it to compensate for that medium egg that I used instead of a large egg. I have a feeling I'm not going to be that lucky though. Okay, so I just added about half again. So like I added half the first time, and then this time I added half of that half, which is a quarter math. And I'm going to let this one go for a minute. You could probably see on the video that I've got a lot of the batter stuck in the whisk. Again, one of the problems with using a whisk here, it just seemed like the smart thing to do at the time. And I think I made the right decision, but I do have a bunch of it stuck in there. So I'm actually going to clean that out and mix it a little bit more. I'm just going to toss that into the flour bowl because whatever, they're all getting mixed together anyways. And it does say to do this on a low speed, so I'm not going to fight that. I'm just going to go ahead. Ooh. That startle that I just had was absolutely nothing at all. I've got some styrofoam plates living on top of the fridge. I don't even know why they're there. You know, when you have a roommate, things like that just happen sometimes. So I don't know why they were there, but some of them just fell. Those have had to have been up there for months. I don't know. I accept these things. We're going to see how this mix goes. I'm probably going to clean out the whisk again in a second here. You might be able to see that this is kind of breaking down a bit in the bowl and separating out again. That is not because of the butter this time. It's just because of all of that flour is getting more in the dough on the side than what's in the center. When I say dough, I mean batter. It's terminology. Terminology isn't the right word for that, but that's okay. I mean, it is also terminology, but semantics. I feel like semantics is a word that we use that we don't actually use properly. So I don't want to say semantics either. But anyways, flour and dough batter and dough are basically the same thing. So if I say one when I should say the other, I don't want to hear corrections from people. I say it like that because I live in a world where I will absolutely have some smart ass make a shit ass comment to me about that. And then I'll just get real mad for reasons that could have been completely avoided. Okay. So I am going to call it a day on that. Sorry, I'm just reading the recipe. Okay. So the next thing it says to do is fold in the chocolate chips and the cranberries. I'm going to clean out as much as I can of this, of course. Off. Oh God. Tap it on the side some. So as a cake decorator at a grocery store, we would do this constantly and get yelled at constantly because they claimed that this was why our whisks were always breaking. And it had absolutely nothing to do with that. They gave us refurbed whisks. And once a whisk breaks, I am firmly convinced that it is broken forever and you don't refurb it, you make new ones. And after years of this, and also they kept changing their recipes for things at that store, at the chain, not just that one store, but at the entire chain. And sometimes things would not work right. So we went through this spree of paddles getting broken, which is almost impossible to break because they changed our buttercream recipe. And they knew that everybody made the buttercream slightly differently than how they were supposed to because it worked better the other way. And it was never a problem until they changed the formula for the buttercream. And then everybody's paddles were breaking. And like some of these paddles were, 30 years old. The same person used it for 30 years straight. There's absolutely no way it is that person's fault. And they would blame that person. And that went on for months before they finally changed the formula again. Because they were blaming the mixers, and the mixers were refusing to change what they did, and I support that. Okay, so I just got to fold in the cranberries and the chocolate chips. I bought a fresh bag of dried cranberries for this, so of course it turned out that I had almost a whole bag already. Never measure over the mixing bowl in case you dump too many. That's for everything. But since it was dried cranberries, whatever, but it ended up being extra. In case you're wondering what that sound is, it is me eating them. Oh. Still chewing. Okay. Next up is dark chocolate chips. This recipe calls for semi-sweet. I use dark. I don't like. I have a sweet tooth, but I don't like my sweets to be too sweet. So I always use dark chocolate when it calls for semi-sweet. Unless, like, if I'm making fudge and there's nothing else for the sweetness in it, then I'll use the right stuff. But something like this, where it's just an additive, I will always use the less sweet. Okay, so this just needs to be mixed in. Not with this, though. Let me get, you guessed it, my wood-handled spoon. Okay. So I think part of what is getting me right now is also that, like, it is actively, I believe, 65 degrees in the house, which is probably some nightmare temperature in Celsius world, but is quite chilly. Oof. In the US. I feel like it's probably like 30 degrees Celsius, if I'm doing that math right. So because of that, everything is just fighting me a little bit more. But that's it. That's my dough, my batter. Also, this is another thing where it says that it yields 4 dozen cookies. And oh my God, I can't even imagine how small these cookies would have to be for this to make 4 dozen of them. Like, this is absolutely a lie. But this is done, and these are ready to bake. So I'm going to go ahead and do just a little bit of cleaning to make space. I'm going to check my ovens to make sure they are up to temperature. I don't remember hearing them beep, but it should be yes. Okay. If you're wondering if right now I'm eating batter off the whisk, I absolutely am. Okay, so I've got roughly the space that I need. Where did I put back underneath? Oh, wipes. I'm going to go ahead and get 2 cookie sheets going at a time. I'm supposed to bake these for 9 to 12 minutes. So I'm going to get these first 2 cookie sheets in. I don't like putting 2 batches of cookies in the same oven. So I'm just going to do 2 pans at a time. Also, I got to check something with these pans. Yeah, okay. Okay, so these are the pans that I'm using. They are gross, and that is another reason why I use parchment paper. There we go, parchment paper. That had a song, and now I needed a visual. So, all I'm going to do is line these 2 pans and then put some blurps of cookie dough on them, because that's what you do, right? Also, if I was a more dignified person, I probably wouldn't stick my hands in the batter, but I'm absolutely going to stick my hands in the batter. My one regret, again, oh my God, okay, I am going to wash this pan really quick. We had an incident a couple weeks ago where something leaked into where our pans are. Just accept that our stuff is set up so that is a possible thing to happen. I have a feeling that whatever that was got into this, and we just missed it when we were cleaning everything. We try not to live as gross people, but also we are kind of gross people. We do our best. And I feel like we work really well together because we both really do our best, but we both suck at it. So we hope for the best, but also we don't get disappointed in each other when, you know, we pull out a dish. That's disgusting. Okay. So it didn't actually say, I don't think, how much batter to put on this. Let me see. It says rounded tablespoons. I don't think there is any way I can get 48 rounded tablespoons out of this, but let's see if I actually try to do this like an adult with a tablespoon and not my fingers. I'm absolutely going to be sticking my fingers in it because how else are you going to get it out of the scoop? But all right, that is a rounded tablespoon. One pro tip that I can give you for this, that of course I don't have one in my house, but if I was at work, I would be so set right now at my old work that I no longer have, is melon ballers. The ones that have, I feel like they actually do advertise them as cookie scoops as well now because this is a pretty well-known tip. There. Yep, that was me removing a hair from that. We live with cats, there's hair and everything. We try to keep it down. Anyways, if you use a melon baller, they usually have, or I guess I should say, get a melon baller that has one of the little handles on it that like scrunches and scoops it out, and it makes this so much better. It looks like I'm just going to do 8 cookies on this first one and see how much they spread. We don't want kissing cookies. And if you think I'm being cute when I say kissing cookies, I'm not. That is the actual term for when, at least with bread, I will put that caveat on there that I might just be referring to bread. When bread is batch baked, like with the easiest thing to think of is like a hot dog or a hamburger bun where you buy the pack of it and you have to kind of peel them off of each other, or with like Hawaiian rolls, where they, you know, you have to peel away from each other. That's called kissing crust, when you have to peel them off of each other. And the same with any sort of roll where you see that like white patch where there was no actual crust, because it was basically the conjoined twin of another roll or whatever it happens to be. I'm assuming that you use the same term for cookies, so I am now. And I don't want that to happen because they make uglier cookies. Okay. So I'm just going to put it out there. That was 8 rounded tablespoons right there. This is supposed to make 48, and I'm not going to be anywhere close to that. And this always bothers me because, like, you give me the actual quantity that I should scoop, and it's wrong. And it's one thing if, like, I'm just making cookies that are gigantor in comparison to what you told me to make, but I'm literally using the rounded tablespoon, just like you said, and I'm going to be lucky if I get 2 dozen cookies out of this. And that's okay. I don't need more than 2 dozen. I'm making 3 types of cookies, and you know, like I said, I'm mailing cookies to 2 people, and then I'm doing a cookie swap. And actually, I'm mailing cookies to my parents and also my friend Craig, but technically he's just being part of the cookie swap. So it's not like I'm sending him a ton of my own cookies. Everybody is donating cookies to him. So I don't need an insane amount of cookies. feel like if I like had the audacity to write to this blogger and be like, hey, you told me 48. What the hell? First of all, I probably would never get a response. Second of all, I feel like with bloggers, like they probably just took someone else's recipe anyway. There we go. So they're just literally repeating what somebody else has said. And also, I probably just get like a shitty answer of like, well, you overrounded them or whatever. So again, this was now after 16. So this is going to make half of what it said. Okay, I'm going to put these in the oven. Oh, shit. Ignore that. I am going to put them in the oven. We made pizza yesterday, and the pizza stone is still in the oven. I am of average height for a woman, but our ovens, I don't know. We've got like the two ovens that are stacked one on top of each other, and that top oven is really high. So like, and this pizza stone, it's a pizza stone, it's real heavy, so it definitely makes it's awkward to get out when it's hot. Okay, there we go. It's okay, we're saved. All right, let me slide these in. Alexa, set timer for 9 minutes. Also, I'm going to hope that these are cookies that that 9 to 12 minutes is fairly accurate, and that these don't end up coming out burnt after 9 minutes. Okay, so I've got my cooling grids, which obviously I cannot put anywhere here on camera or even in my kitchen right now. I'll be back in a moment. All right, those literally had to go on my coffee table, and that's okay. Okay, so as promised, oh, good grief. I just found another bag of dried cranberries. Remember I said I had this problem with the brown sugar? I also have this problem with the dried cranberries, but that's okay. I'm going to pause for a moment and fix this. Maybe the more I bake and do these shows, the more I'll catch these and not have so many anymore. And my baking rack will become a normal size. Okay, so macadamias. I have macadamia halves and wholes in this bag. That is, of course, way bigger than I need them to be. And I have the choice. Oh, good grief. I've got 2 boxes of sandwich bags here. That's okay. This I can absolutely explain. I told my roommate, and also like, yeah. Oh no, these are quarts. There we go. We're okay. These are sandwiches. We didn't need that second bag of sandwich bags though. I told my roommate to pick up bags, and he picked up sandwiches instead of quarts. So we got those quarts later. Ronan, I just saw your comment about fixing that by eating the other bag. That would have been my solution if I hadn't just like gorged myself on cranberries and also on batter. Okay. So this looks like about way more than I need, which is the right amount, right? And let me see what I have for bashing. Yes, that's right, bashing. I am going to, you know what, let me, where did you go? Oh, you still have stuff in you. Nope. When I say stuff for bashing, I mean something that is fairly sturdy and fairly flat-bottomed. When I am not at home, when I am doing this sort of thing in a professional capacity, I just whack it really hard with the handle of a spatula. But that doesn't sound like such a good idea in my own kitchen with my own supplies and my own less than high quality countertop. That's if I damage, I have to pay for with my own money. And obviously, like, cups do work for stuff like this. I don't know. That probably would have been smarter, but I looked at the cups and I said, you know what? I would rather this bowl. Okay, so, and obviously, like, for cookies, I want these to be small, but I don't want it to be ground into nothing. And that's why I did not use a food processor for this. That's ground like pretty, like I don't have any gigantic chunks in it, but I still have good sized chunks in it. And of course, you know, when you use a food processor, it always does it unevenly. So you end up with like meal with gigantic chunks in it until you work all those down. Like there's no middle of the road where it's got a pretty even smash like this does. Okay, and this is rock solid. Oh, I should see what temperature this needs to be baked at. This also needs to be baked at 350, so perfect. This is by teaspoon. So this should actually get a decent amount, especially with these macadamia. This is going to seem like a really ridiculously frivolous thing to do, cut it with a knife instead of just ripping it in half. But that's me. And I'm going to go ahead and use this plastic wrap as a surface to mix this on. It is not, of course, the best of surfaces, but it'll work for this. Okay, so that was a little more than half. And we're just going to see where this gets me. I'm just going to do this real gently. Kind of do like a fold sort of knead. Pick it up. Kind of do that silly putty. You know, they've got that goose stuff now. Growing up, we had silly putty, not to sound like a boomer here. I am not a boomer. I am what I like to call an elder millennial because I am on that line between millennials and Gen X. But So we used to have Silly Putty that would like pick up the print on newspaper. I don't know if that's stuff that they make now, that goo stuff or the slime. I have a feeling that it does not do that, but that's kind of how I feel with what I'm doing right now. Like I'm picking up newsprint or like with a lint roller. Okay, so that got a decent amount of chunk in it, but I definitely think I can get a bunch more chunk in that. I don't know how well that was how much it got into that first one. So I could definitely put more in there. Batter was never really, or like dough, like what I'm doing now, this has never really been a thing that I've done much. I very rarely make anything that needs to be kneaded, but I have made a lot of fondant in my life, and that is done in a similar way. Also with like a lot of weird folding and tucking. If it, ooh, that sounded weird. Anyway, whenever you get dye involved. Alexa, stop. So that was my timer for that first batch of cookies. I know what you're thinking. I need to absolutely stop what I'm doing and get over there, and I agree. But like, if you don't burn a batch of cookies, did you really make cookies? Oh shit. If you're wondering what that oh shit was, it was absolutely not cookies burning. As I said, my cooling rack is sitting on my coffee table. I put it there with the assumption that the cats were going to sleep through this entire thing and therefore not potentially get on my coffee table. One of the cats just strolled out. Okay, let's see how these cookies are looking. Oh, you know what? Oh, they're looking fluffy. Oh, geez, I don't know what the hell these cookies are going to end up being. Alexa, set timer for 1 minute. That's right. I have no idea what these cookies are going to be. I'm going to do a little bit of dishes and prep for the next batch. Which is, again, the final batch, and is going to be the peanut butter blossoms. I'm going to go ahead and do all of these chocolate orange ones, or orange chocolate cranberry. I'm going to get all of these done first because that batter is sitting in my mixing bowl. But again, it looks like I maybe have 1 or 2 trays left of that. Alexa, stop. Oof, okay, I'm going to pull this one tray, let that other tray go just a minute longer, and I'll show you why I did not have the most positive reaction to these cookies. So, they didn't spread. They're poof balls. I'm trying not to like burn my cord. You see that they are browned on the edges. So I'm going to assume that that is done, but they didn't sink at all. And that's probably that stupid butter issue. But that's okay. I'm going to take these out. I'm going to check on the other batch. I'm going to leave that other batch in just a second longer while I transfer these onto the cookie rack. So I'll be back in just a moment. All right, and I'm going to do the same for the second batch now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second batch. The pan is cool enough for me to do it. Of course, it's metal. It only takes a second to cool. I do reuse parchment paper in case you're curious about me getting a fresh sheet. I'm just letting them cool for a little bit on that parchment paper before I take them off. So I'll end up having 4 sheets of parchment paper going. And that just keeps me from like either potentially damaging them when I transfer them onto the wire rack, or like losing time waiting so that I can transfer them. All right, we are back to batter. Let me put these macadamia away. My tablespoon is actually bending a bit as I scoop these. Okay, so I did make these. I tried to make them just a little bit smaller than the last ones. That puts us at 24 there. And I have this tiny bit of batter left that I will go ahead and make just a couple more cookies with. That's okay. But yes, this recipe was definitely nowhere near the promised 48 cookies. All right, that takes 27. Let's see. This one is going to be 28. I'm gonna get I'm gonna 29th one. It's gonna be really funny though because it's absolutely not gonna have any bits or pieces in it. It's just gonna be basically an orange cookie. There we go. One to grow on, right? Okay. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven and do this little bit of dishes and then get going for the next peanut butter recipe. Also get a little bit of this batter. Why not, right? Alexa, set timer for 9.5 minutes. Ooh, don't mind me, just a little toppling over, I'm fine. Damn. Okay. No, that's okay. Let's see. I'm gonna come back to that paper in a moment. And then I'm gonna take a quick peek at the recipe for the crinkles that I just did to make sure that I'm not messing anything up there with, okay. So I'm supposed to Drop dough by a teaspoon into sugar and roll into balls. So I'm going to start working on that now instead of going to the peanut butter stuff. And then this way I'll give my equipment a little time to dry as well. Smush everything there. I'm gonna go steal that parchment paper. All right. So my parchment paper is there. I am going to grab a plate and I'm going to pour some powdered sugar onto that. Thanks to my thanks to my sifter mishap, I will not be sifting this. I'd rather have slightly clumpy. Oh Jesus! Rather have slightly clumpy powdered sugar than super clumpy powdered sugar. Yeah, there we go. Also, this is for the cappuccino crinkles that I've already like screwed up 8 million ways. So, what is one more? Shake that out. Look at how clumpy that is. Okay, so this I might regret doing, but I'm going to try to smush the crinkles out, or the lumps out of it. Could this potentially make more lumps? Absolutely. More, bigger, stronger, harder clumps. Okay, let's see. I honestly don't think that did anything. That's okay. It's a learning experience, right? Okay, so I am going to start with the unmacadamia dough. Batter. It's batter. And it said 1 teaspoon, which is what I am currently holding. That is absolutely going to break this poor thing, just like the last one did. Oof. It just says by the teaspoon, not like whether it should be rounded or not. So, that is a little tiny nugget, though. Okay, so that is the little tiny nugget. I have rolled it into a ball, and I am going to do this with it and kind of roll it again in my hand to get that bit of excess off of it. And I'm just going to set it there and keep on going. I mean, that's definitely more than a teaspoon, so I'm good. These little nuggets. I'm gonna make 8 million cookies at this rate. Hopefully this at least has like a Zen quality for you to watch, because this might happen for a while. The good news is I'll be able to put a whole bunch on a cookie sheet. These might end up being the smallest cookies known to man, outside of those, like, you know, of course there are the like tiny like animal crackers and stuff like that you're meant to eat by a handful and not a single cookie. But for a single cookie that you're meant to eat as a single cookie, I feel like this is going to be a contender for the smallest. Now I'm curious. No, it literally says to put on the cookie sheet as these balls. Okay. That was a bigger ball. Now I'm just like making ball jokes in my head, and you just gotta go with it. Y'all know I write steamy romance. A lot of my life is making ball jokes. Okay. Alexa, stop. And of course, the problem here now is my, you know what? I was gonna say is that my hands are real gross, but honestly, it's just powdered sugar. It's not even that gross. Here we go. I'm gonna rinse my hands, of course, but so the real funny thing is that because my oven is weird and my pans are weird, I have them really close to the element, and yet it's still the bottoms of them browning fast. So I guess it's not that weird. I guess the pan is itself too close to the element. So I'm wondering if they're just not baking. Oh, excuse me. I should be smart and make sure that the other batch is baked through. Okay, so for the cranberry orange chocolate chip, this is how the cookie turned out. It's got a nice bottom. I will say that, like, that is perfectly baked for a cookie. The interior of it, this is like I'm now like putting myself on a baking show. The interior looks pretty cooked. And it tastes real fucking good. And I'm gonna gloat on Saturday about how much better they are today than they will be on Saturday. So, looked weird when they first came out of the oven, but a success. it did not stay cold as long as I wanted it to. Yes, I just saw your comment, Pronoun, about being able to get away with eating cookies because I'm making so many. Yes, absolutely. So I've got 7. I think I should be able to fit 12 per tray. So let me go ahead and get that many done. And then I can at least put them in one at a time, and I'll have like dueling timers on the Alexa, but she likes it. Oh, she heard me. She heard me. We are, I don't know why, except none of us are really smart enough to understand her. But ours and my roommate's mother's are synced up. So sometimes I'll ask her how much time is left on the timer, and she'll give us like 4 different timers because Ken's mom has like 3 of her own timers going. So it's always a bit of a game to us. And of course, like, she's making dinner at the same time we're making dinner. She lives, a couple towns over from us. It's not like she's in a different time zone or anything. So it's always at that like dinner time. It's always right around 6 o'clock that we try to ask how much time is left, and we get way more information, or we get really confused because we'll have the same length on our timer, and she'll always tell you, on your 45-minute timer, you have 10 minutes left or whatever. So we'll both have like a 45-minute timer going, and we'll get like 10 minutes even though we just set it or whatever. Or there was one time that we forgot to set our timer, and we asked her how much time was left to see if we had set it or not. And she gave us his mom's, and we ended up burning dinner that night. Alexa, play Chill Hop on Sirius XM. Apparently, when I said her name a minute ago and didn't go anywhere with it, she was like, okay, I guess you're done with music. Ooh. Remember when I cleaned the counter like 5 minutes ago? Guess what? I'm going to need to clean it again. Oh, I did say that I was going to do 12 and then start traying them, but I guess I'm just going to do this whole batch. And then while this is baking, I'll do the macadamia batch. Oh, so my battery is getting low, so I might need to deal with that in a minute. Also, I'm now thinking about in those cooking shows when they, that time that they get. And the thing is that, somebody who is in the field, not of cooking shows, but of baking. Yeah, I know that like these things are kind of impossible times that they're getting. Right there is my battery saying, hey, plug me in. So that'll be after these get put in the oven. But they always give them like really, really short time frames if it's a show that is timed, just to make it like extra stressful. And now, like I know for a fact that with cookies they normally are given like a half hour. I'm making 3 batches of cookies. I'm 2 hours and 15 minutes into it, and I haven't even baked the second batch yet. Okay. So I've got both trays set up, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I feel good about that. So I just need to get 11 on a tray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You might be thinking, man, that's crazy good luck that she got those laid out perfectly. Oh, you can't even see. I got them laid out perfectly. It's not by dumb luck that when I put them on, they all spaced out perfectly. I'm real good at figuring this kind of thing out. 11 is 2 rows of 4 and 1 row of 3. And of course, you want that row of 3 in the middle to give more space. Okay. So these are going in for 8 to 10 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 8 minutes. And I'm going to be right back with my computer charger. Okay. So this is going to go into this ridiculous charger that we've got here. Yeah, this is real like weird and gross that we've got a power strip on our stovetop. But a lot of our kitchen is weird and gross. And a good portion of that actually has nothing to do with us. This house was kind of a crap show when we got it. That's why it was so cheap. And of course, we made plans to like repair things properly, and then here we are. All right, round 2. This is the with macadamia. It is considerably stickier for that, but that's like, it's because I took it out of the fridge and heated it a whole bunch. The reason I'm making these, I feel like I didn't say it before, I had a whole idea of the 3 cookies that I was going to do. And the funny thing is that now I don't remember what the third one was, but they were all, like, none of them were actual chocolate cookies. Some of them, I believe 2 of them had chocolate chips in them. So the chocolate chip cookie and then another, it was that cranberry-orange chocolate chip. And then there was another one, and I feel like that also, oh, no. There were the 2 peanut butter ones. Or there was the peanut butter one and the chocolate orange one that both had chocolate in them because the peanut butter is going to have the kisses in it. And now, again, I don't remember what that extra cookie was. But I thought it was really weird that I didn't have one that was just like an actual chocolate flavored cookie. So I just went through the cookbook and came across this and said, oh, you know what? This is exactly what I want to do. This is totally a chocolate cookie. And then as I dug through the cookbook a little bit more, so I originally was going to do the chocolate crinkle, and then I kept going through the cookbook, and I found the Fudgy Cappuccino crinkle. And I mean, obviously, I'm going to make the Fudgy Cappuccino crinkle because that is a more exciting flavor, and that is what you want when you are doing a cookie swap. Because, of course, you're always going to have the people who literally only know how to make, like, chocolate chip cookies and oatmeal raisin cookies. And you don't want to be one of those guys. So, I figured that this was probably a flavor that, there's also a lot of flavors that you're going to see over and over again. Part of that is, did I set that timer? Alexa, how much time left? Okay, yes, I did. But you always want, like, the weird cookies are always the most popular ones in a cookie swap. And of course you want to have the most popular cookie because why even participate if you're not going to be the winner of it? Again, I have ASPD. I don't mean to make everything a competition, but here we are. The good news is that my competitions are things like cookie swaps. So, when I saw this cappuccino fudgy one, I said, yes, absolutely, this is what I want to do. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what, that's not exciting enough. Especially if that cappuccino doesn't come through, as I'm worried that it won't because, again, of the weird espresso thing that I had to do. So, if nothing else, there'll be chocolate macadamia. I have one friend who does not like coffee flavored anything, so I'm not going to give him any of these cookies. Oh, also, because of COVID, the way that this cookie swap is working is that anytime in the next 3 days, up until Saturday afternoon. People can drop off their cookies anytime Saturday afternoon on. They can come pick up the swapped cookies. If they do want to be here at 5:30 on Saturday to both drop off and pick up their cookies, they are welcome to. We've got a nice backyard. We're going to be having a bonfire back there because it's tradition for us to have a bonfire on the long Saturday night of the year. So they're welcome to hang out and socially distance, socialize by the bonfire as I set these up. But so because of that, I'm going to be controlling what's in everybody's bag. And I know I've got a friend who does not like coffee flavored things, so I'm not going to give him these cookies. But for everyone else, I'll decide. I'll decide if I tell them that they're coffee flavored or not. Ooh, those did in fact crinkle. Alexa, stop. Okay, let's see what I've done. Why does she keep doing that? Oh no, there it is. Okay, I thought she turned the music off again. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea if these are done or not, but this is what they look like, and they're real cute. I like them. I'm gonna take this one out. I'm gonna leave the other one in for a minute, and we'll decide from there because I just realized that I haven't cleared off my racks yet anyway. I'll be right back. Oh gosh, I lost my oven mitt. I have in fact lost 2 oven mitts so far. Maybe, no, okay, I've lost 1 oven mitt so far. That's not me. And these cookies also came out very marshmallowy in shape, so hopefully they will sink as well. We'll find out. These are just delightful little nuggets, though. I tell you what. Okay. So back to rolling this up. This looks like it is making more than the last one did. I guess logically because of all of the macadamia nuts in it. But the good news is that, as you saw from that tray, it looks like I've got plenty of space between them, even once they grow, spread, expand. like at some point I need to like have a second camera and just have like 2 cameras in my kitchen. How creepy would that be? That's insane, because then it's like I'm actually running a cookie show and not just like being social while doing a thing that I'm usually social with, but I can't be social with because of social distancing, which is actually what's happening here. I don't know if I mentioned this on my writing show this morning, but tomorrow one of my friends is doing a Zoom holiday party. She is actually going to be baking cookies then, but like I know how complicated it is for me when I'm baking cookies, and I didn't want it to be like both of us doing something really complicated. So tomorrow, while she's doing her stuff, I'm going to be putting up a Christmas tree. So that way, anybody else who goes to Ashley's Zoom miss, we'll get both the experience of baking cookies with somebody else and also of putting up a Christmas tree. Hers is Zoom. It's not going to be to the world. It's going to be very much a specific population that definitely makes these both holiday things. So I don't know in the rest of the world. Like obviously I know Christmas trees are not somewhere that something that the entire world does, but a lot of Western cultures do it. Same with Christmas cookies. I get really confused with how baking works in the rest of the world. We watch and we love the British baking show, and we are only 1 season behind right now. We are watching the season before the one that just aired, or that is currently airing, I think. So we've watched a lot of it, and there's still every single episode we have to like have our phones out ready to translate things. And I don't know, like I always wonder, obviously we know with stuff like, biscuits and Victoria sponge, aluminum, we know a lot of this is like the common vernacular. Some of the fruits and vegetables have different names there. We get that is part of the vernacular, but like I always wonder when they're getting into really weird things and just tossing that term around, if that is actually like a common term in British English, or if this is just them throwing around terms that literally nobody knows unless they're in the industry. The last one, I believe, was Patriot Cream or Pat Cream, which to me, like when I looked up the recipe for it and watched them make it, it looked like a Bavarian cream, but I feel like they've also used the term Pat Creme, I believe is how they pronounced it. Anyways, I feel like I've also heard them mention Bavarian cream before, so I don't know. I don't know why I was even talking about that. Oh, yeah. So like, I feel like there is this mentality here that, the UK and the Isles in general, everything is pretty similar to here, just like in a more rustic way, if that makes sense. But actually, I have no idea. And I'm always surprised when they talk about things being American. Like, obviously, I know, I'm not dumb. I know some of our stuff is very American. But like, when they're talking about, like, American-style pies, I'm like, what the hell do you have for pies over there? Okay, let me get my count. This is terrible to count because I don't have these in good lines. 1, 2, oh, Jesus. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31. Jeezy Pete's, I got so many cookies out of this. 31 is going to be 15 to 16 per tray. Yeah, you heard a whole bunch of excitement there. And if you're thinking, what a weird thing to get excited about, I don't care. So 1, 2, 3, and I will lay these out better once I get them on. This is going to be a little bit more trial and error though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh my God, I just rubbed my forehead and I got stuff everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so I feel like I actually want these in 4 rows, and I just don't know what that math ends up being. So oh, geez. Did these rows end up real weird? Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so there is the first tray. Oh, geez. Also, they rolled all over the place when I moved them, and they ruined all of their pretty rows. Oh, whoops. There we go. Okay, I'm going to get rid of all of this powdered sugar, so I'm just going to move it right out of the way. I'm going to toss it right into the trash. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that was 16. Oh, yeah. 6 times 4, duh. I'm having a dumb moment. There we go. Or not. I didn't mean 6 times 4. I meant 4 times 4 is 16. So obviously this is going to be the right configuration. Okay, I'm going to go look at the other cookies from this batch and see if they smushed any. They didn't. But you know what? I'm just going to put them in as is. Alexa, set timer for 8 minutes. All right, I'm going to do a quick rinse. Holy cow, I'm just looking at my counter. Oh, my poor counter. And so Brown just said, I kid you not, I've never had American pie with a lattice crust like I've seen it in the American movies. I don't know. Have you ever had anything with a lattice crust? Because I'm going to tell you the truth is that unless you're like spending a whole bunch of money or you're a professional baker, you don't do lattice crust either. It's obviously like the Instagram world. We see it a bunch, but more likely, we just use a regular double crust, or we do like French apple where it's got like I guess it's like a strudel that's on top of it, instead of a crust at all. But like every time I have ever made an apple pie, I have just done a regular double crust with some form of a like a hole, either, that like little hole in the center to let steam out, or like sometimes I have absolutely rolled it out and used, I can't think of the name of it, but there's those sandwich cookies. They're like little tiny guys that have like the ruffle edges on them, that you cut out a little hole in the center. I can't think of the name of it. I make them too. So like I've got the kit, I've got all the stencils for making it. So sometimes I'll like be a little extra and I'll use one of the more decorative hole punches from that to make a prettier crust on it. I've done a lattice crust probably twice in my life, and it's a pain in the ass. Okay, so cherry pies, usually people just use, if you're making it at home, you just use like a canned cherry pie filling. So like, I don't recommend, it's good. It's a really sweet pie, but I do like the taste of it. So I do like cherry pies, but apple pie is really easy to make fresh. So I recommend, if you ever bake at all, do it just to try it. Again, like you can do just a regular basic double crust with just like, some sort of a prick in it so that it doesn't, oh God, that sounded bad. Some sort of a vent in it. And then, you put like an egg wash glaze on it, of course, to make it pretty. But all you do with an apple pie, obviously you want to pull up a recipe for you so you get the right amount, but you peel and core, and you slice up apples. You take a ton of them, like enough to fill this bowl, and you just toss in with them some sugar and then some spices, which are like cinnamon, and for apple pie, I normally do like cinnamon and allspice and ginger, but you toss them all together, throw them into the pie crust, put the top crust over it, and bake it, and that's it. They're actually crazy easy to make. And of course, when you make it yourself, like I feel like there's always this perception that American stuff is super sweet, and I know that a lot of our commercially made stuff is super sweet. But you can absolutely control that with an apple pie, and you can go pretty light on the sugar. Usually when I make it, if I'm following a recipe, a lot of times I just toss it together. I don't make, that kind of sounded like I make this all the time because America, this is what we make for like every meal. I don't. I make an apple pie once every other year or so. But if I am looking at a recipe, I normally do like half the sugar that they call for, as long as the apples that I'm using are sweet. Okay, so I'm going to make the peanut butter blossoms next. That's not even on the pages. Oh, no, it is. It's right, literally right there. This is calling for a half cup of shortening and a half cup of butter. Oh, no, I'm reading that wrong. It's a half cup of shortening and a half cup of peanut butter. I feel like I'm just going to throw a flippin' stick of butter in here because I hate shortening. I have shortening. I use it for softening fondant, but that's it. Also, I'm now curious, pronoun where you are. Do you have shortening? I ask because I used to teach cake decorating, and I had a lot of international students, and most of them had no idea what shortening was. So I'm going to go online really quick and make sure I can just do a direct substitution. But I can't imagine that it's not, because they're very similar things. Similar consistency and everything. Yes, 1-to-1 ratio. May slightly alter the texture of your baked goods. I am willing to sacrifice that because, oh my God, I can't. If you don't know what shortening is, it's really gross. Okay. So I'm going to beat the shortening, aka butter, and peanut butter together. Do I want to use crunchy? I'm going to see what I have in the cabinet. It doesn't tell me which one to use. Okay, so I only have good peanut butter in the pantry. And if you were thinking to yourself, what in God's name is good butter? It's just our all natural butter. Again, I have an issue with things that are too sweet. All natural peanut butter tends to be less sweet. This is actual, like my good peanut butter is actual peanut butter consistency. I know a lot of times the natural peanut butter has that, or I guess what I say, natural consistency, like it doesn't separate like a lot of them do. I'm going to go transfer cookies. I'll be right back. Alexa, stop. Did y'all catch the timing on that? That was like my spider sense tingling right there. Oh, I bet the cookies are done. Okay, I'm gonna pop these cookies out. If anything, the last ones were slightly overbaked, so I'm gonna just wing these right now. They're really hard to tell when they're done. They look about the same though, which is good because I was worried about the macadamia. Hot. Okay. Ignore that pathetic whining sound I just made. I'm fine. Oof. Switching oven gloves. Okay, so it is not margarine. It cannot be used as a butter substitute in like non-baking stuff. It is more, okay, here's exactly what it is. It is oil. It is straight oil that has gone through a chemical process. I'm forgetting what the name of that chemical process is. Not like a really gross chemical process. I feel like I need to specify that. It's not like there's no extra ingredients in it. There's just like a weird thing that they do to it. And I know I know what it is. I just don't know the right way of describing it. But so it's oil, and this is funny because I just Googled it and it says that it's a dairy product. It is absolutely not a dairy product. What it is usually used for is it's a fat that is usually used to either it's in actual baking or it is used in pastry crust, or it is used to grease pans. So like it's a solid grease, so it sticks better to your pans than regular oil does. I'm sorry, I had to stop and Google this right now because I'm forgetting the right term for how it's made. It's like brominated or something like that. And the funny thing with it, so like it's solid at room temperature. It needs to get pretty hot before it breaks down. So that's also the perk to it. And it's probably part of the reason why those typically American pies are not aren't seen so much in other countries is because usually we do make it with shortening. I don't make my crust at all. I get the refrigerated crust because it's easier and I don't need to spend my life that way. But sorry, that was just like a really weird tangent that I went on. So basically, it's a vegetable oil that has been treated in a way so that it stays solid at room temperature. It does break down over time. I know this because when I was teaching classes, I would have like a little tub of it that I carried with me that I would have to change it out every few months. This is not something that goes bad, but it is something that like through air exposure, it starts to break down back into oil form. So yeah. It's just one of those things that it's kind of like when this is a really weird comparison, but it's kind of like when you whisk up eggs and you get them really light and frothy, but if you let them sit too long, they start to sink again. That's kind of what's going on with shortening, except that's not the process that it goes through. Sorry. Okay, let's get this last cookie going because I am 3 hours into this show. Yes, lard is basically this is a vegetarian form of lard. That's not how it's marketed at all. It exists well before lard, well before vegetarian was a thing that people worried about. But yes, it is basically the vegetable oil version of lard. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. But when I taught classes, I had a lot of Indian students because Atlanta has a really big Indian population. But, a lot of the, because we do have such a diverse population, we also have markets that cater specifically to all those things. We've got Asian markets, we've got Indian markets, we've got halals, we've got all of that here. So a lot of my Indian students only ever shopped at the Indian grocery store, which would not have had shortening. So they used ghee instead of shortening because, of course, they wouldn't have lard either. They're Indians. And then I had a student who was here from Australia, actual, like, just here. I think she lived here for a year for her work, and then she was going back to Australia. So when she went back to Australia, at first she was using ghee as well. I guess because when it's for like cake stuff, it's weird. Oh, okay. So I just saw your comment about maybe you have shortening over there. So that's funny because with this, what ended up happening was I got an email from her like a couple months after she went back to Australia. And she was like, "Oh my God, I found shortening. It was in the American aisle of the grocery store." I can't imagine there's ever a moment where you would actually need to get it that you didn't have something you could substitute in. But the American aisle at your grocery store or the American section, however that works out. I would assume that most grocery stores have an international section no matter where you are. And like all of our grocery stores have a specifically British section. We don't have a specifically Australian section. Although we do have an Australian market here. It's actually an Australian bakery, but they have a little market in it, and I love them. And I love their savory pies because as an American, usually the closest I get to a savory pie, there are like chicken pot pies here. They're usually pretty gross. The closest thing otherwise I get to a savory pie is a calzone. So the Australian bakery is really nice for getting, just like for me, a vegetarian hand pie. Let this go just a little bit longer. I was thinking I was seeing bits of peanut in it, and then I realized that peanuts are not that big in chunky peanut butter, and I'm seeing this damn butter. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to accept that as it is. So that was a half cup of shortening, which was actually butter, and also a half cup of peanut butter. It wanted me to mix that for 30 seconds. It was another one of those 30 seconds things. That's not what's happening. I'm going to pop this back in here. I'm going to rinse out my half cup because I need it for like everything in this recipe. Okay, and dry that out. And then I'm going to need a half cup of each sugar in here, granulated and brown. Go ahead and start with the brown since it's in my hand. Oh, you know what? The sugar was literally sitting right there, though, so that's okay. We do things our own way. We can do our own thing. Okay. Oh, geez, fluffy bag. So I made that comment when I had the brown sugar out before that it doesn't really make a difference in pretty much anything I do, whether I use dark or light brown sugar. I feel like usually dark brown is for like crusting onto stuff, because I feel like usually if I'm using a recipe where it does specify, it always says light. And I feel like the only reason we have brown sugar is because Ken has had to do a ham before. There is a downfall to baking with dark brown sugar, though, and it's a lot stickier, so it's a lot harder to get out of the damn bag. Okay, so I'm going to add the brown sugar. And the regular sugar. And it also wants me to add baking powder and baking soda this round. I'm also going to go ahead and actually start putting some of this stuff away, since this is the last batch of cookies finally. Okay, sorry. Trying to make this a little speedier, and then I just zoned out for a second. But that's kind of life right now, isn't it? I feel like we all just zone out sometimes these days. Okay, so I need both baking soda and baking powder. It wants 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda, which is ludicrous, but here we go. 1/8 of a teaspoon, the babyest of teaspoons. And it wants a full teaspoon of baking powder. My teaspoon is over in the chaos that is the dish area, so I'm just going to do 2 half teaspoons. There we go. And that is, I believe, all that is going into this one. Yes, it is. Okay, and this is beat until combined, scraping bowl. And I agree that that is weird that you would have that stuff in casino gift shops as opposed to local stuff. Although, from my perspective, casinos, I don't know. So I used to live not that far from Atlantic City, which is like the shitty version of Vegas. And I have been to Vegas, and like Vegas is a shopping mecca, and I was not expecting that when I went there. I'm not a gambler. I always assumed that Vegas was gambling and like partying really hard, and unfortunately, I'm neither. But it was a vacation, and you know, it was where Ken wanted to go, and we were meeting a whole bunch of his friends there, and like a lot of them were my friends as well that I hadn't seen in a while. I had a really good time. Oh yeah, and all the like sightseeing that's out there. And like just seeing the casinos and the insanity behind them or of them. I had no idea that every single casino in Vegas also had a mall in it, like a full-on shopping mall. Because before that, I had only ever been to Atlantic City, which I knew was a shittier version. Do I have eggs? No. I knew Atlantic City was a shittier version of Vegas, but so like the casinos absolutely did not have malls in them, and like the gift shops are the most ridiculous things ever. Oh my God, everything is just so shitty in Atlantic City, but it's delightful for it. Yeah, I don't know. So shopping is really weird in both of those areas. Excuse me. I think no. I thought I was gonna sneeze, and then my body was like, "No, you're good." Okay, so this wants 1 egg. Also, never crack your egg directly over your bowl like I did. That's highly irresponsible. That's how you get eggshells in it. However, the best way to get eggshells in your egg is if you actually crack it right here, as opposed to on the counter and then split it over it. So I was partially responsible, just not fully responsible. Okay, so that is the egg, and then it wants 2 tablespoons of milk. Is this open? This milk is not even open. Take 2 with open milk. For tablespoons of milk, I'm going to pour milk in here. And find my tablespoon measure. Oh, Lord. This is a terrible thing to be measured in spoons like this, both because it's a liquid and we just don't really have things here to measure liquids better. Like you should be using a cup, like a Pyrex cup to measure out of instead of this kind of cup. This kind of cup I'm talking about. This is a terrible way to measure milk. But also, because milk is not something you can dish into because they never open that way. Okay, and it also wants vanilla, a teaspoon of vanilla. Pro tip, whenever they say teaspoon of vanilla, you're going to get a better flavor. Yes, I eyeball teaspoons of vanilla. You're going to get a better flavor if you do about a half teaspoon of vanilla and a quarter teaspoon of almond. It's like the most ridiculously easy thing, and it's the reason that baked goods from stores taste so much better. Like from bakeries, not, not mass produced, but. Okay, so let's get all these mixed together. And then we're going to scrape that. So the next step is going to be to add the flour in parts using the mixer until I got to switch to hand mixing like the other things had. That's a really normal direction for cookies, for cookie batter. But this is a real soupy right now. So I don't think I'm ever going to have a moment where I can't add any more flour to it with the mixer. Okay. And yeah, it's 1 3/4 cups flour. It's not a crap ton of flour either. So, as we did before, I'm going to start off adding that 1 cup of flour to it. just got flour everywhere. Ignore me. I mean, I guess it's just part of baking, right? Get flour everywhere every time. Oh, geez. I should not have sped up yet either. All right, so I'm not going to worry about scraping down the sides on this. It's 3/4 of a cup. I'm just going to add that in quarter cups. I probably could have gone ahead and added like a 1/2 cup right now, but we'll let this do its thing. Oh, you know what? It is stiffening up pretty good. But I'm Ooh, you hear the anger in that mixer? There is some anger in that mixer. That being said, I don't think there's so much anger that I can't at least start this last quarter cup in here. Yet again, KitchenAids are beasts, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Like, there is a reason that they have a lock for this guy. Because sometimes things get so violent that it tries to puff out of there. And the KitchenAid manufacturer said, no. You can still do this. Suck it up. Yeah, it's fighting. Okay. So, whoops. This time I am going to do some scraping. Oof. So the funny thing when I was doing all these is I could have sworn the peanut butter cookie batter was supposed to be refrigerated before you actually shaped it and baked it. And then when I pulled up the recipe, it didn't say anything about chilling it. But you know what? This is the softest batter that I've had today. And this is absolutely the batter that, I mean, this batter is going to be getting shaped into balls. So, like, it's not as dramatic as the actual peanut butter cookies that get the, like, crisscross on it. But it's still, I don't know, it was still kind of weird to me. But good news, this batter is done. So that means we are in the home stretch, guys. I've got this batter done. That means I can start shaping it. This says a 1-inch balls. I love the consistency here. And now that I have read that, I remember that absolutely being the size of these. So, like, today we had a rounded tablespoon, which made way less cookies than it called for. We had teaspoon, which ended up being, I think, more cookies than it said it would make. And now we've got these 1-inch balls, whatever that means. Also, this is one where we are rolling this in sugar. And my little secret with peanut butter cookies is that I prefer to roll it in cinnamon sugar, just to spruce up the taste a little bit more. So we're going to do the plate again. And now I regret putting that one plate in the sink because I just had to get a whole new plate. Also, remember when I said I was going to put the sugar away because I wasn't going to need the sugar anymore? Here we are. Here we are. This is granulated sugar this time. Look at how lumpy my sugar is, y'all. And then I'm gonna dump some, oh my God, will you open? Excuse me while I have there we go. Technical difficulties with my cinnamon. Okay. So previously I used this 1/8 measuring spoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon for that baking soda, I think it was. Whichever one it was, doesn't matter. Using it again because it's got to be washed anyways. Broke up some of those clumps. There we go. Okay, and then for this, so it is 1-inch balls. It just says roll balls in the granulated sugar and place 2 inches apart on ungreased cookie sheet, or in my world, a parchment covered cookie sheet. Let's just pop that there. I'm gonna use this 1/2 tablespoon, I guess. And I don't know if that's 1 inch. I'm gonna call it 1 inch, whatever. The nice thing with this sugar and cinnamon, but that wasn't really essential. The nice thing with the sugar is that it doesn't stick to, granulated sugar doesn't stick nearly as much as powdered sugar does. So I don't feel quite as messy. I do feel a bit greasy from the peanut butter. Also, I'm happy using the cinnamon just because that smell is great right now. I hate the smell of cinnamon. I'm curious. I'll be right back. I just measured this ball to see if it was 1 inch. It is slightly over 1 inch. Am I going to be really neurotic the whole way through? No, but let's get close to it. Anyways, I really like the smell of cinnamon. The problem, at least here, is once it starts getting a little bit cold out, all of the grocery stores and craft stores start carrying cinnamon brooms, which are decorative brooms that smell like cinnamon, but they are broom-sized brooms. These aren't like little tiny knick-knack things. They are a full-size broom. And the entire thing is heavily, I would assume that it's a spray and not actual cinnamon that's on it. But they are extremely pungent, and there is a point where the smell is absolutely nauseating, at least for me. So one of the nice things about this year as well is because I'm not going into stores as often, I'm doing like my weekly grocery shopping, and I've done one trip out for Christmas presents, and that's it. I haven't gotten hit nearly as much by cinnamon brooms as I usually do. Also, quitting my job at the grocery store, of course. Oh. This was working real well as a scoop for a while until it wasn't anymore. It probably just needs to be cleaned. So I'm definitely going to wash that scoop out in a second, I think. It did that thing where the dough started or the batter started to get stuck to it, and then it just didn't want to peel off nicely anymore. Oh no, you know what? I just cleaned it on that one. Yay. Okay, so I'm doing 11 per tray, and I still have a good amount of this batter left. So I think I'm going to get a decent amount out of this. However, the recipe does say that it's going to make 54, and that is clearly a lie. But I am going to get probably, I'll get like 3 or 4 dozen out of this. My guess is that I'm going to get about 2 full rounds out of this, which would be 44, which I guess isn't terribly lower than what it's saying. It's just weird. Also, 54. What is that? 4.5 dozen? What kind of janky math is that? And again, this is coming from an American that has been having a deal with flipping cups and tablespoons and all the other crap today. And then you're going to throw 4.5 dozen at me. If it had just said 48 dozen, I would have been like, you know what? I think this will make 48 dozen. And I would have felt good about that. And if it had said 60, I would have been like, well, 5 dozen. That's a lot of cookies anyways. I don't even want 5 dozen of these. I don't know if I've got enough Hershey Kisses for that. But instead, it threw out this janky 4.5 dozen, 54. I had to stop and do math on that because, like, who knows what 54 dozen is in single, or 4.5 dozen is in single units. So I'm like doing math just to figure out what 54 even means. Like, is this some secret code or something? Is it like the 12th digit of the Fibonacci sequence? No, it's just 4.5 dozen. I'm almost there, guys. I've got 4 more left. And this is going to go in. And my plan here is I'm going to get the next set going. And then when this comes out, I'm going to do the little finishing touch of adding the kiss on. And we will call it a day from there because we are
coming up on 3.5 hours. This was a real long broadcast right here. Also, I don't know how to say the word broadcast, apparently. Got all mush mouth on that. That's okay. Also, I've got this chill hop station, which is lo-fi hip hop. But like it just randomly busted out with some I guess it was sampling. It was sampling some like slow jams, which is not quite lo-fi hip hop. It was weird. Okay, so these 2 trays are finished. I'm going to pop them in the oven. Also, my roommate just got home, so I'm going to mute for just a second. So he knows. Let's see. Alexa, set timer for 10 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and unwrap these things while I'm talking to him.
I need to go back out and get some of
No, you're good. Okay, so I am going to be unwrapping. I'm gonna need 22 of these for this batch. And obviously I am not nearly as skilled at unwrapping these as I want to be. Oh God. Oh, I'm bad at this. I'm gonna tell you a secret. I never eat Hershey Kisses. They are okay chocolate, but certainly not good chocolate. I feel like anything that is wrapped in foil like this is probably not going to be the best. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But yes, I'm going to get these unwrapped. And then I'm going to go ahead. I think I still need to transfer. Yeah, I need to transfer cookies over so that there is space. And that batch is baking. Any luck on the mail?
Yes.
Or we're waiting on stuff. Oh, we just got a big check. That mass destruction that we had to our house at the end of October. We're finally starting to get some money off of that. Also, I lost count while I was saying all that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I am over halfway, and that feels good because this is like the most tedious goddamn thing I have ever done. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Really?
I'm doing the peanut butter blossom cookies.
Oh.
The peanut butter cookies. I have the Hershey Kisses in the center. Do you know if they sell Hershey Kisses without the wrappers on them? If I ever decide,
They don't.
Oh, this is awful.
I went through that trying to find some for my grandfather with his Alzheimer's.
Oh.
He loves them, but he started eating them with the wrapper and everything.
Oh. So yeah, this is just apparently part of the process that if you're going to make these cookies. These, I'm absolutely positive that you would find Hershey Kisses in that casino gift shop that you were talking about. Because this is like the most American goddamn candy ever. I used to actually drive through. So I was born in upstate New York, which is the part of New York that is not New York City. It's the entire rest of the state. Fun fact, New York is a whole damn state. New York City is a very small chunk of it. So I was in the far reaches of New York State, and then we briefly moved to Ohio. And all of this is on Lake Erie, the second of the Great Lakes. And there is this little chunk of Pennsylvania that touches Lake Erie that like basically blocks Ohio and New York from touching each other. So basically that is Ohio and New York's chastity belt. And that is where Hershey, Pennsylvania is. And of course, Hershey, Pennsylvania is where Hershey candies are made. It's also, they have a theme park. They've got Hershey Park there, which is like a little shitty Disney. But a little shitty, but far more affordable Disney. I will give it credit for that. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of Disney, but also, if I remember correctly, Hershey Park, you can actually like take a family of 4 there without putting a second mortgage out on your house. Disney is terrible. Like every year, my parents now, this is funny. So when I was born, we were in upstate New York, and then we moved to Ohio, and then we moved to Delaware, and then I moved out of their house and came to Atlanta, and then they moved right on by me to Florida, to about an hour from Disney. And actually, my grandparents for most of my life lived about 15 minutes from Disney. So every time I go visit my parents now, I think about going to Disney. Like, I'm an adult. I have money. Usually I have money. Right now it's a little different because I don't have a job. But usually, in the last, since they moved there at least, I've had that thought. I can afford to go to Disney. I'm just going to go to Disney. And then I look at the ticket prices online, and I'm like, what? No, and it's not even for, the full experience. Like, they got the new Star Wars stuff now. And Ken, that was Ken who I was just talking to. Ken is really big into Star Wars. So when Star Wars came out, I said, oh, let's go. This will be a fun thing for both of us. And all of us, there were others with us on that trip. But the tickets for Disney are like $150 or something like that for just a single park, a single day. And then to go to the one thing that was going on with Star Wars that interested me, it was another $90. I'm not spending $240. And you had to buy the ticket into Disney to do this other thing that was 2 hours long. I'm not spending $150 and then another $90. And also that $90 take a chunk out of my time for the $150. Anyways, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go clear off the last round of cookies to make tea. Okay. Hopefully I did not just leave a gigantic puddle of sugar on the floor, but I might have. That's okay. We've got a Roomba. Man, I wish I had another set of cookie sheets as well, or drying racks, cooling racks. There's the right term. That's okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. Alexa, how much time is left? Geez, I have 1 minute left. I don't want to get my hands dirty. Milk duds are really good. We were just talking about that yesterday. I haven't had them in a while, but no, it wasn't milk duds. It was sugar babies, I think. I don't remember which one it was now. Okay, so I have this all set up so that I can put the kisses on when they come out of the oven, which is momentarily. Okay, I don't know. Our oven, Alexa, stop. Our ovens do not have lights inside them. Like they do, I think. There's a switch that I think is for that, but it doesn't work. Which makes it hard to tell if things are done sometimes. I'm going to take these out and kiss them, so to speak, while the other one's bake, and I'll figure out the right time from that. But that's it. Oh, yeah, those look exactly right, though. I realize that's a funny thing to say, but I've never made these things before, so. I don't know if you could hear it, but they made a funny like sound when I put them in. I don't know if it was a heat thing or like a compression or air escaping or what, but it was kind of funny. Also, I'm not gonna lie, these peanut butter cookies look real weird to me because I'm used to baking the other kind, and normally I feel like they're a lot crinklier on the edges. Everything just was like real tall and aggressive today. And I feel like I'm gonna have to Google when I'm done with this to find out why my cookies were poof balls this time. Oh, did you see how I just completely like fucked that one up? There we go. Okay, so that's it. I do have a couple more rounds of these cookies to make, but I think I'm gonna call it a day on this video. That is 3 hours and 37 minutes. Thank you for the very small handful of you who watched the entire time. And thanks, Pronoun, for like actually participating. Not that those of you who are lurking, I see you. Not that I have anything against you for lurking, but also Pronoun, thanks for hanging out and chatting with me. I will be back on the Word Stitch channel tomorrow at 8 a.m. To do actual writing. And then I think I'm going to be calling it a day for a little while. I am going to be making a cheesecake sometime next week, so that's going to get filmed too. That'll be a faster thing, though. I'll probably do that during sprints like I did with a Thanksgiving cheesecake. I'll probably do the Christmas cheesecake the same way. Maybe a little bit earlier in the day though, because that was late and it was a handful. So thank you guys for joining, and I will see you tomorrow.